Rebuild yourself up. You've been knocked down, haven't you? Life has a way of hitting us when we least expect it. One moment, everything is going great, and the next, it feels like the floor has been ripped out from under you. But here's the thing, getting knocked down doesn't mean the fight is over. It doesn't mean you're done. It doesn't even mean you've lost. It means you've got an opportunity to rebuild, to take the pain, the disappointment, the failures, and turn them into your strength. I know it's not easy. It's not supposed to be. Rebuilding isn't a smooth process. There's no easy fix, no quick solution, but that's what makes it so powerful. When you rise from the rubble, when you build yourself up from the ground, you come out stronger, wiser, and unbreakable. You learn more about yourself, about what you're really made of, and you start to realize that the version of you that's been knocked down isn't the version of you that's going to rise. So stop looking at the damage and start looking at the potential. Stop focusing on what's broken and start thinking about what you're going to build. Because no matter how hard life hits you, the comeback is always in your hands. The power to rebuild is in you. Now let's talk about how you're going to do it. Today, we're not talking about some quick fix solution to problems. We're not here for shallow words or empty promises. What we're talking about is real. It's about getting through the hard times and rebuilding yourself, piece by piece, day by day. In this video, we're going to touch on 7 key points that'll help you rebuild. Not just survive, but thrive after setbacks. These aren't the cliches you've heard 1,000 times. These are real-world strategies that people like you, people who've been knocked down but refuse to stay down, can use to get back on track. From owning your story, to trusting your gut, to understanding the importance of showing up when everything else in your life is trying to pull you back, we're going to cover the essentials. So stay with me, because this is going to hit you right where it counts. This is where the rebuilding starts. Number 1, stop waiting for permission. You're standing still, staring at the future, wondering when the right time will come. Maybe you're thinking, once I get the approval, once someone tells me it's okay, I'll get started. But here's the truth, that moment might never come. The people you're waiting on, they're not the ones who decide when you take that first step. You are. The time you're waiting for, it's now. We've all been there. You want to make a change, you want to start something new, you want to rebuild your life, but you're stuck waiting for the nod of approval from the people around you. You want your friends, your family, your boss, even strangers to give you that little green light, that sign that says, yes, go ahead. But guess what? Life doesn't work like that. The truth is, you're the only one who gets to decide when the time is right. And if you keep waiting for someone else to give you permission, you might be waiting forever. Too many of us live in this space of uncertainty, hesitating to take the first step because we think we need permission to move. You may even be waiting for some kind of validation from others to confirm that your dreams, your goals, your plans are good enough. But here's the deal, validation doesn't come from outside of you. It has to come from within. You need to believe in yourself before anyone else can believe in you. Your life, your future is in your hands. And if you're constantly waiting for someone to tell you it's time, you'll miss your chance. Think about it. When you were younger, someone told you, you can't do that. Maybe it was a teacher, a friend, or even a family member who doubted you. And in that moment, it was easy to listen. It was easy to shrink back and say, okay, I guess I can't. But here's the thing. When you stop listening to the outside world and start listening to what's inside you, you realize you were always ready. The only thing that was holding you back was the permission you thought you needed from others. Look, no one's going to hand you your future on a silver platter. No one's going to knock on your door and say, it's time to rise up, it's time to be the best version of yourself. It doesn't happen like that. It takes guts. It takes the decision to stop waiting. It takes courage to step out when you feel unsure, when you're not certain of what's ahead. You don't need someone's approval. All you need is the resolve to act, to move, to make it happen. The moment you realize you're the one who decides when the time is right, everything changes. You stop living in a state of what if and start living in a state of I will. You stop looking for permission from others and you start giving yourself permission. The truth is, the world is full of critics. People will always have something to say about what you're doing or not doing, but the best way to shut down the noise, start doing what you've been waiting to do. Start showing up for your own life, even when no one else is cheering you on. Let's be real for a second. When you're trying to rebuild, there's always going to be doubt. There's always going to be that little voice in your head telling you that you're not ready, or that it's not the right time, or that others are doing it better than you. But here's the thing, that voice, it's lying to you. That's the voice of fear, of self-doubt. And if you listen to it, you'll never move forward. If you wait until everything is perfect, you'll be waiting forever. Perfection doesn't exist, but taking action, that's what leads to progress. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to know every step, every detail, or every outcome. You just need to take that first step, and then another, and then another. Rebuilding is about consistency. It's about showing up every day, even when you don't have it all together, because if you wait until the stars align, you'll miss out on your own life. You want to know the secret to rebuilding? It's simple, take action. Every day, even if it's just a small step, if you keep waiting, nothing will change. But if you start now, if you stop asking for permission and start doing, you'll see results. Not right away, but eventually. And when you do, you'll wonder why you waited so long in the first place. So stop waiting for someone to tell you it's time, because it's time. Right now. You don't need their approval. You never did. You've got everything you need inside you to begin. Don't waste another minute sitting on the sidelines, hoping someone will give you the green light. Give it to yourself. Your future starts with you, not with anyone else. So what are you waiting for? Get moving. Step 2. Own your past. Look, your past is never going to disappear. No matter how much you wish you could erase it, forget it, or pretend it didn't happen, it's there. It's in the lessons you've learned, in the scars you carry, and in the way you've shaped yourself over the years. And that's the first thing you need to understand. Your past doesn't define you, but it sure as hell shapes you. Too many people try to bury their past, like it's something to be ashamed of. They sweep it under the rug, lock it in a drawer, and hope that if they ignore it long enough, it will go away. But here's the reality. Your past is a part of who you are. You can't run from it, and you shouldn't want to. Because if you keep trying to hide it, you'll never fully step into the person you're meant to become. Let's get something straight. Your mistakes, your failures, your wrong decisions, they don't make you less of a person. They're not the sum of your worth. In fact, those very things are what make you real. The people who act like they've never been through anything, they're lying, and they're missing out on what's most important, the strength you gain from surviving the hard stuff. There's a power in owning your story, in owning the fact that you've stumbled, that you've fallen flat on your face, that you've made mistakes and learned some tough lessons along the way. That's not weakness, that's growth. And when you stand tall and say, yeah, I've been through some things, but I'm still standing, that's when the real power kicks in. When you own your past, you stop allowing it to control you. For so many people, their past is like a ghost, constantly haunting them, dragging them down every time they try to move forward. They live in the shadows of what happened, and they let that darkness cloud their present. But that's not how you're going to rebuild yourself. You're going to face that past, embrace it, and learn from it. Every setback, every failure, every moment you thought was your lowest point, it all taught you something. So instead of letting those memories define you, let them be the fuel that drives you forward. When you finally face your past head on, it stops having the power to control you. You begin to see that those painful experiences don't own you. They're just chapters in your book. They're part of the story, but they don't have to be the whole story. Don't let a few pages determine the ending. You're the one holding the pen now. You know why so many people stay stuck in their past? Because they're scared. They're afraid that if they acknowledge the pain, the mistakes, the losses, it'll make them weak. But the truth is, the only thing that's weak is avoiding it, pretending it didn't happen, hiding from it. When you own your past, you're saying, I see you, I acknowledge you, but I'm not afraid of you anymore. That's the strength it takes to rebuild. That's the first step in breaking free from the chains that try to keep you stuck. Owning your past doesn't mean you have to like everything about it. It doesn't mean you have to be proud of every decision you made or every path you took. But it does mean you accept it. You recognize that those moments, those choices, those failures have brought you to where you are today. And where you are today is exactly where you need to be in order to move forward. Don't get it twisted though, owning your past doesn't mean dwelling on it. It's not about living in the past or letting it keep you stuck. It's about accepting what's happened, taking the lessons, and using that knowledge to build a stronger future. It's about understanding that the mistakes you made don't have to be repeated. They were lessons, not labels. They were lessons, not limitations. So stop running from your past. Stop pretending it didn't happen. Because when you can finally stand tall in the face of everything you've been through, that's when you start to reclaim your power. That's when you start to rebuild from the inside out. That's when the real transformation begins. Every scar, every tear, every moment of doubt, it's all part of what made you who you are. And if you really want to rebuild, you've got to take that past, those pieces, and make them work for you. Turn your pain into purpose. Turn your failures into stepping stones. Embrace it all. Because your past doesn't control you unless you let it. Remember this, you are not your mistakes. You are not the bad decisions you made. You are not the things you wish you could undo. You are the lessons you learned from them. You are the strength you built because of them. Your past is not something to be ashamed of. It's your foundation. And from that foundation, you can build something incredible. Step 3. Don't let others' doubt become your truth. You've heard it before, people telling you it's too late, telling you you're too far behind, that you've missed your shot. And the worst part is sometimes we start to believe them. We start to let their doubt become our reality. Their words begin to echo in our minds, and before long, we forget who we are, what we're capable of, and why we started in the first place. But here's the thing, their doubt is not your truth. Their fears, their limitations are theirs, not yours. And if you let them define you, you'll end up living in someone else's story. We all face moments where others, sometimes even the people closest to us, tell us what we can't do. They tell us that we've missed the window, that we're too far gone, that maybe it's time to give up and accept things as they are. But if you let that be the defining voice in your life, you're giving away your power. You're letting someone else's perception of you shape your future. And let me tell you right now, this is your life. It's your path. It's your comeback. No one else gets to decide how it unfolds, not even the ones who doubt you. Now, I know it's hard. When the people around you doubt your abilities, it stings. You feel like maybe they see something you don't. Maybe they know something you're missing. But that's the moment when you've got to block out the noise. You've got to remember that their doubts don't define your potential. You're still here, still breathing, still capable of moving forward, no matter how many times you've stumbled. Just because someone else doesn't believe in you doesn't mean you shouldn't believe in yourself. Here's the truth. No one knows your story like you do. No one knows the sacrifices you've made, the battles you've fought, or the dreams that keep you up at night. Their doubt, it's based on their limited perspective, their own fears, and their own experiences. It's not a reflection of who you are, and it certainly isn't a reflection of what you're capable of. The only person who truly gets to decide if you're done is you. The voices of doubt, the ones that come from the outside, are always loudest when you're on the verge of something great. It's like they want to stop you from moving forward. They want to keep you small, keep you playing it safe. But that's not the path to rebuilding. If you want to rebuild yourself, you've got to push through those voices. And trust me, it's not easy. It's hard to block out the noise. It's hard to shut down the negativity. But if you listen long enough, you'll hear something more powerful than doubt. You'll hear your own heart telling you, you're not done yet. That's the voice that matters. That's the voice that will guide you through the toughest moments. The doubts from others may be loud, but the truth that lies within you is even louder. Your heart knows your potential. It knows the power you have to create change, to rise above, to take those first steps and keep moving forward. When you listen to your heart, you'll realize that no one else's opinion can hold you back unless you let it. Here's a question for you. What happens when you start believing in your own truth? What happens when you stop letting someone else's limitations dictate your next move? You start to see possibilities you never saw before. You start to take action even when the odds are stacked against you. You stop waiting for permission, and you start building the life you've always wanted. You stop letting the doubts of others become your truth. And instead, you start trusting in the strength that's been inside you all along. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it won't be hard. But when you face down the doubt and the negativity and refuse to let it shape your future, something incredible happens. You realize you're capable of so much more than you ever thought. The setbacks, the failures, the people who told you it couldn't be done, they don't get to write your story. You do. And here's the thing, when you choose to ignore the doubt, when you choose to trust yourself, you not only prove everyone else wrong, you prove something to yourself. You prove that no matter what life throws at you, no matter what people say, you're going to keep going. You're going to keep fighting for your dreams, your goals, your vision of who you can become. You'll realize that the only person who can truly stop you is you. And when you stop believing their doubts, you'll start to see that you're unstoppable. So the next time someone tells you it's too late, or that you've missed your chance, don't listen. Don't let their doubt become your truth. You know who you are. You know what you're capable of. And when you listen to your own heart, it will always tell you that you're not done yet. You're just getting started. Keep going, keep fighting, keep believing in yourself. 4. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Rebuilding yourself isn't about getting things right all the time. It's not about waiting for the perfect moment or the right set of circumstances. No, rebuilding is about pushing yourself into spaces that make you uncomfortable. It's about facing your fears head on and saying, that's where the growth happens, right outside of that safe, warm, predictable little bubble we've all spent so much time inside. Here's the thing, our brains are wired to seek comfort. We're creatures of habit, looking for the familiar, the easy. That's just part of being human. But here's the problem, comfort zones don't challenge us. Comfort zones keep us stuck in the same place, doing the same things over and over, expecting different results. And if you're trying to rebuild yourself, trying to create something new in your life, then you have to understand that comfort zones are dangerous. They lull you into thinking everything's fine when, deep down, you know you could be doing more, being more, reaching higher. You want to grow, right? Well, growth happens in discomfort. Look at it this way, every time you feel that lump in your throat, that tightness in your chest when you're about to do something new, that's a sign. It's a sign that you're on the edge of something big. It's your body telling you that you're stepping into a new space, a space that will require you to push past the easy and into the hard. And it's not going to feel good at first. It won't feel safe, it won't feel natural, but that's exactly why you need it. Think about the times in your life when you've grown the most. Was it when you were lounging on the couch, binge watching TV? Or was it when you were in the middle of a tough conversation, a tough decision, or a tough challenge? Growth doesn't come when you're comfortable. It comes when you're forced to stretch beyond what you think you can do. When you have to stand tall in the face of fear and say, I'm not turning back, not this time. Now I get it. It's hard. It's scary. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I can't wait to be uncomfortable today. But here's the truth. The more you run from discomfort, the more you stay stuck in the same place. You'll never get to that next level if you're always clinging to the things that make you feel safe. And the thing is, discomfort isn't a bad thing. It's not something to be feared. It's a signal. It's an invitation to move forward. It's telling you that the next chapter of your life is waiting for you on the other side. You don't get to grow without feeling uncomfortable. You can't break through your limits without testing them. Think about lifting weights. If you only lift what's easy, you won't get stronger. You have to increase the weight. You have to challenge your muscles. You have to push them beyond their current capacity. The same goes for life. You have to step up to the plate and take a swing, even when you don't know if you're going to hit it out of the park. That discomfort, that's where your strength comes from. I'm not telling you to throw yourself into chaos or to make things harder than they need to be. I'm telling you to stop avoiding the hard stuff. Stop avoiding the difficult conversations, the risks, the opportunities that scare you. You're not going to get to the other side of fear by staying in the same place. You're going to have to go through it. You're going to have to face the uncomfortable. Look it in the eye and say, this is exactly what I need right now. Because, my friend, that's where the magic happens. It's not in the places you feel safe. It's in the places that make your heart race. This might mean stepping into a new job you're not sure you can handle. It might mean moving to a new city, starting over, leaving behind the people and the things you've known. It might mean saying no to things that have kept you stuck or saying yes to things that terrify you. It might even mean looking in the mirror and finally confronting the person staring back at you, the person who you've been avoiding for so long. It's never easy, but it's always worth it. When you get comfortable with being uncomfortable, you start to realize that fear isn't a stop sign. It's just a signal that you're moving in the right direction. It's a sign that you're doing something big. The more you face your fear, the less power it has over you. And eventually, what once scared you will become second nature. That's the power of discomfort. It forces you to evolve. It forces you to change. And if you're committed to rebuilding yourself, to creating something new and better, then discomfort is your ally, not your enemy. So, I want you to do something today. I want you to stop avoiding what's uncomfortable. I want you to go after it. Seek it out. Whether it's a conversation you've been putting off, a decision that needs to be made, or a change that needs to happen in your life, take that step. Step into the fear. Step into the discomfort. That's how you'll grow. That's how you'll rebuild. And I promise you, when you look back, you'll be glad you did. Step 5. Cut the dead weight. Take a look around. Take a hard look at your life, your circle, the things you do every day. I'm not just talking about physical things or clutter. I'm talking about the people, the habits, and even the parts of yourself that keep dragging you backward. You know what I mean? Those relationships that drain you, those routines that keep you stuck, or those parts of you that have outlived their usefulness, but you're holding on to them out of habit or fear. The truth is, if you want to rebuild, you've got to cut the dead weight. It might be tough, but it's necessary. You can't rise if you're still carrying everything that's been holding you down. We all have baggage, don't we? We all carry stuff from the past, pain, regrets, mistakes, and it's easy to justify holding on to it. We convince ourselves that those things are part of who we are, that they've made us stronger, that we need them for character. But the truth is, some of that baggage is just dead weight. It's holding us in place, keeping us tethered to things we no longer need. And if you want to rise, you have to let go of that stuff. You can't keep carrying around the mistakes of yesterday if you want to move forward. Let's start with people. There's a hard truth here, but one that needs to be said. Not everyone in your life is meant to stay there forever. Some people are only in your life for a season, and when that season is over, it's okay to let them go. It's painful, it's uncomfortable, but it's necessary. Holding on to toxic relationships, whether they're family members, friends, or even colleagues, only weighs you down. They drain your energy, they bring negativity into your life, and they keep you stuck in patterns that no longer serve you. And the longer you hold on to them, the longer you stay stuck in the past. So ask yourself, who is in your life right now because they lift you up? And who is there because you've been afraid to cut them loose? Be honest with yourself. If someone is keeping you from being the best version of yourself, it's time to let them go. Now, this doesn't mean you have to be cold or cruel. It doesn't mean you have to burn bridges. But it does mean you need to stop investing your time and energy into relationships that are pulling you down. Don't be afraid to distance yourself from people who no longer align with your values, your goals, or your vision for your life. It's hard, I know. You might feel guilty. You might feel like you're abandoning someone. But in reality, you're giving both of you the space to grow. You're freeing yourself from the weight of that relationship so you can step into something better. Next, look at the habits you've developed. We all have them, those routines, those things we do without even thinking about them. Some are good, some are bad. And here's the thing, just because you've always done something doesn't mean it's good for you. Take a good hard look at the habits that have been holding you back. The late night scrolling on your phone, the procrastination, the avoidance, the habits that keep you stuck in a loop of inaction. You've got to be willing to identify those habits, those mindless actions, and get rid of them. Cut them out. It's time to make space for healthier, more productive habits that will help you grow and rebuild. Breaking habits is tough. It's not something that happens overnight. But if you really want to change your life, if you want to rebuild yourself from the ground up, You've got to be willing to look at the habits that are keeping you in place and say, I'm done with this. It might be hard at first. You might fall back into old patterns. But every time you break a bad habit, you're making space for a new one to grow. And that's how real change happens. But the toughest thing to cut, the toughest thing to let go of, is often the parts of ourselves we've been holding on to. It's easy to look at other people or situations and say, that's the problem. But sometimes we're the ones holding ourselves back. We carry around old beliefs, old ideas of who we are that no longer serve us. Maybe you think you're not worthy of success, or you tell yourself you'll never be good enough. Maybe you're holding on to shame or guilt from past mistakes. Maybe you're scared of what people will think if you show up as your true self. But if you want to rebuild, you've got to let go of those parts of you. You've got to stop holding on to the idea that you're anything less than capable, less than worthy, less than deserving of everything you want. This means letting go of your fears, letting go of your doubts, letting go of the past that keeps whispering in your ear, telling you that you're not good enough. It means trusting yourself, trusting the person you're becoming, not the person you were. It means looking in the mirror and saying, I am worthy, I am enough, I am ready to move forward. The moment you stop carrying those negative beliefs about yourself is the moment you make space for something better to enter your life. Cutting dead weight isn't easy. It's a messy, uncomfortable process, but it's necessary if you want to grow. If you want to rebuild yourself, if you want to rise above your circumstances, you've got to make room for what's coming next. And that means letting go of the things and the people that are keeping you anchored in the past. Free yourself. Cut the dead weight. It might hurt, but it will set you free. And once you do, you'll be amazed at how much lighter and stronger you feel, how much more energy you have, and how much more room there is for the new, the better, and the bigger things that are waiting for you. Sometimes we lose sight of our why because life's challenges start to overwhelm us. Maybe it's a job you hate, or a relationship that's no longer fulfilling, or a goal that feels out of reach. The frustration piles up, and little by little, you lose connection with the things that used to matter. But here's the thing, your why doesn't disappear. It just gets buried. You don't have to start from scratch. You just have to start digging again, uncovering the reasons that made you passionate, that gave you purpose in the first place. Ask yourself, why did you start in the first place? What was it that made you step out, take that risk, and decide you weren't going to stay where you were? Was it a dream you had when you were younger? A goal you set for yourself? A promise you made to someone? Think about the moments when you felt most alive, most driven, most aligned with your purpose. Chances are, that's where your why is hiding. When you find it again, everything else starts to make sense. The obstacles become less daunting, the work becomes more meaningful, and even the setbacks feel like lessons rather than failures. When you know your why, your whole perspective shifts. You can look at the hardest days and still feel like you're on the right path, because you know exactly what you're fighting for. You have a reason to get up and face the day, even when things don't go as planned. You have something that keeps you grounded when the world around you feels chaotic. Sometimes your why can change, and that's okay. What you cared about 5 years ago might not be what drives you now, and that's a part of growing. Don't be afraid to reassess and rediscover what matters to you. But at the end of the day, it all comes back to one simple question. What's your reason for doing what you do? Your why is your compass. It gives you direction when you're lost, it gives you strength when you're weak, and it gives you a purpose when you feel like giving up. So stop just going through the motions. Stop rebuilding for the sake of rebuilding. Stop doing things just because that's what you've always done. Take the time to reconnect with your why, your true reason for moving forward, and watch how everything else starts to fall into place. Find your why and you'll find your power. You'll find your motivation. You'll find the strength to rebuild yourself no matter how many times you fall. Because when you know your why, nothing and no one can stop you. Step 7, practice patience, not perfection. Here's the truth. No one has it all. There's no magic formula, no perfect moment, no step-by-step guide to get from where you are now to where you want to be. If you're waiting for everything to fall into place just right before you take action, you're wasting time. The truth is, perfection doesn't exist, not in the way you think anyway. We all have this tendency to look at other people's success and think, I want that, I want everything to fall into place like it did for them. But here's the thing, what you don't see is the mess they had to go through to get there. You don't see the failures, the setbacks, the moments they felt like quitting. You don't see the times they doubted themselves. And you sure as hell don't see the process. All you see is the finished product. But let me tell you something, that finished product didn't come easy. It didn't come because everything was perfect. It came because they kept going. Even when things weren't going their way. They kept pushing forward, even when things were messy. This idea of perfection, it keeps you stuck. It holds you back. You think that before you can take action, everything has to be in its right place, and that's simply not true. It's a trap, and it's one that a lot of people fall into. You're setting yourself up for disappointment because life doesn't work that way. And what's worse is that when you aim for perfection, you're constantly putting yourself under this pressure to get it all right from the start. You start comparing your steps to other people's finished stories, and you forget that your story is yours to write. Now, I'm not saying you should settle for mediocrity. I'm not saying that you shouldn't strive for excellence. You should, but perfection, that's a whole different thing. Perfection is the enemy of progress. Every time you wait for the perfect moment to take that first step, or the perfect conditions to move forward, you're wasting time. You're wasting precious opportunities, because you'll never get it exactly right. There will always be bumps in the road. There will always be things that don't go according to plan. But that's where growth happens. Think about it. Every time you step forward, you're learning something. Every mistake you make, every wrong turn, every failure teaches you something that will help you on the next step. But if you're waiting for everything to be perfect, you're not giving yourself a chance to learn. You're not giving yourself the opportunity to grow. Instead, you're paralyzing yourself with fear of failure. You're holding yourself back from progress because you're so focused on the idea that things need to look flawless. Progress happens in the mess. It happens when you're working through the tough stuff, when you're facing challenges and finding your way through them. That's where real growth happens. Not when everything falls perfectly into place. It's in the trials, it's in the imperfect moments, the moments when things don't go as planned, that you develop resilience. It's when you face the hard stuff that you truly rebuild. And that's the point. You rebuild not by avoiding the messy parts, but by pushing through them. Patience is the key here. Realizing that things take time. The process is messy, and it's okay to take it one step at a time. Stop putting pressure on yourself to have everything figured out by tomorrow. Give yourself room to breathe. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to get it perfect. You just have to keep showing up. The only thing that matters is progress. Keep going even when things aren't perfect. Take one step forward, and then the next. Keep moving, keep learning, keep growing. There's an old saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. It's true. The process takes time. The road isn't always going to be straight. Sometimes it's going to be messy. Sometimes it's going to be hard. And sometimes you'll wonder if it's even worth it. But as long as you're moving forward, as long as you're making progress, that's all that matters. Don't let the fear of not being perfect stop you from moving ahead. Don't let the pressure to have everything figured out keep you from even trying. Perfection can be paralyzing. Patience, on the other hand, builds you up. It teaches you to trust the process. It helps you embrace the fact that things won't always go your way. But that doesn't mean you can't keep going. It teaches you that every mistake, every failure is just another part of the story. It's just another part of your growth. And when you stop chasing perfection and start embracing progress, you'll find that you're rebuilding yourself stronger, wiser, and more resilient than you ever thought possible. So don't wait for perfect timing. Don't wait for everything to line up just right. Don't wait until you feel like you have everything in place to start. Start now. Start messy, start imperfect, and keep going, keep moving forward. Keep learning, keep growing, keep showing up. Because the process is where the real magic happens. Not in perfection, but in progress. So let me tell you again, rebuilding ain't about perfection. It's about the fight, the struggle, the grind, the grit. Those moments when you want to give up, but you keep going anyway. That's what makes you stronger. The times when everything feels like it's falling apart, but you pick yourself up, one step at a time, and keep moving forward. That's where growth happens. It's not about getting it all right. It's not about making sure everything falls into place like some fairy tale. Life's not like that. You're gonna hit bumps along the way. You'll stumble, trip, and fall. But that's not failure. That's the process. Every setback is just a lesson that gets you closer to the person you're meant to be. The best version of yourself is out there, waiting to be discovered. But it's not just gonna show up. You have to build it. You have to work for it. You have to take those steps, even when they're hard, even when you're scared. But trust me, the version of you that's been through the fire, that's been forged in the struggle, is the one that will make you proud. So stop waiting. Stop looking for permission. Own your past. Find your why and get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Cut the dead weight, block out the doubt, and practice patience. This is your time. The time to rebuild. And you don't stop until you've turned yourself into someone you can look in the mirror and say, I did that. I'm proud of who I've become. It's time to get to work. Let's go.